Hello, beautiful alchemist. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda, and we are in the week of the holidays. It is Christmas Eve, and I hope that you all are doing well, and hopefully some of you have some time off and are looking forward to time with friends, family, or just some time alone. But no matter what is going on for you this week, I hope that you all are doing well. And today we have a very inspirational conversation. One of our really good friends from the podcast, if you've been listening for the last few years, you are familiar with Anjie Cho and Laura Morris. They are the founders of the Mindful Design School, and they have written a book together called Mindful Living. And this is a guide to the everyday magic of Feng Shui. Now, one of the things I love about their work is I think a lot of us have misconceptions or just very limited knowledge about what Feng Shui is really about. And Anjie and Laura do a great job of really breaking it down into a way that's understandable, whether you are someone that's great with design, interior design, these things are not. But they help us to understand the energy that really we are in relationship with as it comes to our environments. And so much of what they share and what they write about in terms of our homes and our environments, whatever spaces that we spend a lot of time in, there's just a lot of it that reminds me of Reiki and energy healing, to be quite honest. And again, they write in such a way and they share in such a way that it makes Feng Shui very understandable, very practical, very interesting and mystical. So we are going to chat with them today about this new book. But let me tell you a little bit about them in case you have not met them before. Anjie Cho is a Feng Shui and Dharma arts educator. She's the author of Holistic Spaces, Mindful Homes, and co-author of Mindful Living. And you can learn more about Anjie and her work at angiecho.com. The link will be down in the show description. Then we have Laura Morris, who is also a Feng Shui teacher and a tarot card reader. She is also an artist, a mom, a wife, and an avid traveler. She divides her time between her home in Prince Edward County, Canada, and her farmhouse in southern Tuscany, Italy. And you can learn more about her work at morrisfengshui.com. Again, the link is down in the show description. Now, together, Anjie and Laura are the co-founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School, and they co-host a podcast called Holistic Spaces Podcast. And you can learn more about their Feng Shui work together, their Feng Shui school, at mindfuldesignschool.com. And of course, again, the link will be down in the show description. Now, as I've mentioned, we've had Anjie and Laura on the podcast before, but how this was different is they actually did a Feng Shui consultation for me, and you'll hear a little snippet of that. It was very interesting what it is that they pointed out, some small changes that can be made that make a big difference energetically. And that's what I'm excited for you all to hear, because I think, again, when we think about Feng Shui, we may think there are these big sweeping changes that we have to make to our environments. And maybe sometimes that's true, but they share with us some very simple ways that we can create some energetic shifts that are more harmonious for us, that aren't difficult to do at all. And they share with us a few of the insider tips that can help you understand your environment even right now after listening to the podcast. So I hope that you enjoy it. We are wrapping up the year. I also want to remind you, for those of you who want to join me in the Alchemy Circle, registration is closing in just a few days. And if you are on the Energetic Alchemist app. If you have downloaded the app, if you are a member on the app, the end of the year readings will be up later today. And if you are not a member on the app, there's still so much free content there available for you. So be sure to download the Energetic Alchemist app. I look forward to sharing this conversation with you all today, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, beautiful alchemist. We are here again with our friends. You should know them by now, Angie Cho and Laura Morris of Mindful Design School. Welcome back to the show, ladies.
It's so nice to be back, Yolanda. And we were talking about this before, but it's so nice that we just know that we're going to talk to you every year.
Yeah.
If we want, we should definitely do a follow-up with the Year of the Snake because you and I are really glad this Year of the Dragon is almost over.
100%. I was thinking that this morning. I was like, oh no, hopefully she's planning to come back to talk about, yeah, the year of the snake. So please do.
We-
Yes. And how are you, Laura?
I'm
How have you
good.
been?
I'm
Good.
good. Yeah. Yes, we're happy to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you again. The book. So I just want to show the book, first of all, for people who may be watching. Mindful Living. Yes, it's a beautiful book, a guide to the everyday magic of Feng Shui. But before we dive too deep into the book, I just want to tell both of you. I was thinking this, reading your work, you would think I wouldn't be surprised by now, but now I was reading it, still surprised of how much this relates to energy work, so to speak. You know what I mean? And I know like a lot of people know like we would associate feng shui with the energy of an environment, but the way you all explain that there really is no separation between our inner world and our outer world, and a lot of the principles even that we talk about in energy healing really show up in this work. And it's fascinating to me how clear you all explain everything. So I wanted to start with that. Why is it that you felt it was important to create this book? And especially because it's so simple and systematic. You guys
hmm
really break it down for, I mean, any beginner could understand this.
Well, Laura and I felt it was a good time in the place in our partnership and where Mindful Design School is at to write a book because we've been teaching for some time now. We're starting our seventh year soon.
Wow.
And we know that most of our students in our certification program, it's a big commitment in every way, time, finances, your heart, like it's a lot. But there's also so many people that are interested in feng shui that are not at the place where they're going to make that big commitment in their life. So we wanted to offer something in tandem with like the other things that we offer, you do this too, like the podcast, and we have blog content. And we wanted to offer a book that would be accessible, that it's accessible financially for people, but also it pulls together a lot of what we talk about in one organized, cohesive thing. And then, of course, Laura's a Virgo, and I have a lot of Virgo placements, and we're pretty organized people. So we really wanted to bring it together in an organized fashion because also I think that when you teach something, and you know this, Yolanda, because you're a teacher too. When you teach something, it's really helpful to present it in an organized fashion so people understand it. And feng shui really looks at this physical world in tandem with the energy. And part of the physical world is that there is some kind of organization to it. So I really love that we can bring together an organized point of view that people can start to understand. Because a lot of people think that feng shui is inaccessible. Either they think it costs too much money to implement, or they can't afford it, or they can't understand it. And we really want to blow that myth out of the water.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because that's what I would think too. I would think like, God, it would be so expensive to have someone feng shui your space. But also, it's amazing how, again, the way you all break everything down in this book, I was like, someone who really had patience, unlike myself, that really had the patience, they could go room by room with this book and really, but I was like, maybe if I had a blank canvas, because I'm just the way my mind works, I'm like, I'd have to empty out the room and take this book, and the detail that you all offer is just so incredible. But I could see how you would still want, a consultant. For some people like me, I would still need someone to go, figure this out for me, please. But the way that you build it, can we talk a little bit about that? Did the structure of the book matter for you a lot? I'm asking the Virgo now.
Yeah, it was, well, Angie had already written two books before this one. And so this was I've written a book, this is my second book. It's been a while, but working with this particular publisher, and this book is heavily illustrated, right?
Yeah.
Insanely illustrated. Which is part of the beauty of it. So we had to sort of think about very visually about how this was going to unfold. It's not just like a book where it's just text driven. And so, Angie, thank goodness she'd been through this before. So we really knew how we could break it down. And for us, it was important to make it accessible, as you said, unfolding, but not being heavy.
Yeah.
Because Feng Shui we can get in our own heads sometimes, and we can get kind of nerdy and get into the weeds. And there's nothing wrong with that. And for those of you out there that are into that, that's why we have a certification, because, if you want to be expert level. But this is for people that honestly want to just bring that magic of Feng Shui. And that's the subtitle, is the everyday magic of Feng Shui, is part of our feeling is that we have this practice, and I'm sure you feel the same way about Reiki, and your listeners do. We have this practice that is so close to being able to practice magic, at least in my
Yes.
mind, we feel it, that we wanted to offer people really simple ways that they could start to just see the world, the natural world, their home, their bedroom. They could see the potential to add some ceremony, some ritual, to make some changes so that they can feel that, even if it's, little baby magic, and just being able to play around with it. And so we balanced it between the idea that this is a mindfulness practice, right? So we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just, here's some stuff, here's some stuff, here's some stuff, here's some stuff, do. We wanted to have this journey so that, you kind of, and we start with the labyrinth that we talk about, our starting point. When we met, we walked the labyrinth together, and that's how Angie and I sort of decided to basically partner together. And then we close it with that same concept. And the
Yes.
whole book is really like that labyrinth, right? We want it to be a journey. We want it to be enjoyable. But throughout, you get these really fun, like little projects, little rituals, little ceremonies. And as you said, if somebody really does want to, get really into it, they can read it that way. Like but you can also pick it up, open a chapter, and go, oh, what color do I want to like think about today? And like, there's a chapter about color, or, what symbol? Oh, I saw this, a raven today. What does that mean? And like, so there's that element to it too.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was, well, I can't say surprising because, I've read you all's work before and I've spoken to you before. But again, I guess like reminded me of how there really is so much magic in this work, and that was one of the big things that struck me was the symbolism. Because I was thinking about how we may go out and we may pick things that we like for whatever reason, whether it's the color or, again, the imagery, the symbolism. And I was wondering, how much do we really consciously think about our connection to certain things that we might be attracted to? But then, even more so with your book, thinking about how to balance out what I may like. Because I may pick something, like, for example, there was a room in the book that was metal heavy. And someone may really like those tones, like grays and silver and all this. Okay. But if that was just my preference, it may not occur to me that there needs to be some balance brought in. And so looking at the book and saying, how can I create more of a harmonious flow or feel in here? I thought that was a really cool, especially again with the way it's broken up.
Yeah, actually, when we were looking at your your home. And for the listeners, so this is really fun because we're going to look at Yolanda's home and you guys will kind of be able to walk or listen along with us. But Laura was also noting like that we Google mapped your place and, and no, this is really common for Southern California, but like Laura also remarked that the outside of your home is just like so earthy in the sense that it's deserty, it's very yellow sand, and like stucco. I mean, that's so Southern California, right? But
Yeah.
it gives a certain, it's overwhelmingly earth element, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some ways that you can break that up is to bring in things like wood element that breaks it up, or different, balance it out so there's some balance, because having something that's too dry or too earthy or too slow or stagnant, sometimes it needs a little bit of a perk, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you say that too, because it goes back to in this book, you talk a lot about that interconnectedness between our inner world, our outer world, how there's no separation. And let's say I don't think I am, but whatever. But let's say I was like a very earthy person. And then I had my home reflect this very earthy feel, right? Again, I don't know if we would personally recognize how in some ways that could be too much earth for us or too grounding for us. So again, I mean, but all of the different elements that we consider, like you said in the book, the color, shapes, symbols. I was like, oh my God, there's so many layers to this. And how you all will give examples, little pictures on the sides where you could have, let's say just like a vase of flowers, but just in that vase, depending on the type of flowers, depending on the color of the vase, depending on all of the arrangement, you could bring in multiple elements with just one piece. So I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, I think that's part of what we like to try and teach people and get across is sometimes feng shui can come across as very rule driven and
Mm-hmm.
very like you have to do this, and if you always do this, and if you don't do this, this is going to happen. And once you actually start to learn this practice deeply, you see the creativity in it and the ability to it's the flexibility of the practice. And so we wanted to convey that, and also to take away any fear, right? To understand that, if you decide that, you want to bring in the earth element, you have so many choices, or maybe you need to bring in, some more water. You have so many choices. You don't just always have to do it one way. You don't have to do it a way where it will be ugly to your space.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also do it something that really works with your own personality. So I think that is the sweet spot of feng shui when you start to practice it at a certain level where you feel comfortable, understanding the essence. And that's what we really wanted to communicate. What is the essence of all of these elements, these symbols, all these things? And if you really do embrace that and understand in your heart that that's what your intention, because again, it's all about intention, and that's your intention, then in our minds, you're not going to do it wrong. It's going to be the right thing for you.
Yeah. Well, I have two questions to ask you all about this too. Because a lot of times, again, if we think feng shui, we think, the energy or the flow of our space primarily. But do you tend to have a lot of different clients, or can we approach this from how am I feeling? Like, am I feeling stuck in a particular area of my life, say? Would it be beneficial to look at, well, maybe I can examine the feng shui of my home, or would I look at a very particular room depending on what it is that I feel stuck in?
That's a great question because I think a lot of people have the misconception that feng shui is interior decorating, and it's only something to be implemented when you want to redecorate your home or you're moving. And while that's true, it's not interior decorating, but you can apply it to interior decorating. It's also not as well known that you could use feng shui as a healing practice to begin to investigate things that are happening in your life, like the suggestion that you offered of maybe feeling stagnant or stuck, or you want to work on some issue. And there's different approaches. There's one, maybe there's something that is revealed in your floor plan that can indicate a propensity towards that conundrum that you're going through, or that issue you want to begin to unpack. And similarly, there are different rooms, and we go in the book, we go room by room with kind of talking about what different rooms can represent and how they impact your life. And so there are certain rooms that you can begin to look at. And we're going to do that today with you. I think we're going to just primarily focus on your bedroom and your office space, which is really like the most important spaces, because I think everyone that's listening, all your listeners will understand, like, okay, how much time do we spend in our bedrooms, right?
Right.
Like a lot of time. And it's a really healing space, and it's your private space. Out of like all the spaces in your home, that's the one that's mainly for you and your partner, right? And then your office is where you do your work, especially because you're an entrepreneur and you work at home. And so that's a huge part of your life.
Right.
So it's both. Or maybe if someone wanted to work on, like if someone wanted to work on healing, we would look at their bedroom. Maybe we'd also look at their kitchen, and then look at key aspects in their home. So it goes both ways.
Okay. Now, before we get into the looking at my stuff, I do have one other question, because I thought it was interesting looking at the section where you all have a breakdown of the elements. And just for an example, if you said to me, oh, you need to have some more earthiness here, or like the element of wood, my mind would automatically think something that feels heavy. You know what I mean? I would think like, that sounds like, I don't know, dark and heavy. But the way that you all describe, I'm trying to flip through the pages to find it, of course. But the way you all describe the elements, I was like, what? That, I
Page
guess
31.
31, thank you.
Yeah,
They have a different feel than really what I would expect. So like the colors of wood, like how you have blue, green, and teal. I guess because blue doesn't feel heavy to me, even like a dark blue, there's something like soothing in my mind about the color blue. But wood sounds, I wouldn't think of wood as soothing. Do you see what I mean? So I thought that was really interesting too, that our ideas of what these elements may be very different than what we imagine.
Yeah, and I think that's part of when I was saying the essence of things. So we do, obviously, there are not rules. I'm sorry, there are rules in Feng Shui, but we approached it in a guideline kind of way. So this is a 4,000-year-old practice that is, actually has methodology and, systems and everything. So we definitely wanted to communicate that correctly. And so sometimes it might be a bit of a learning curve. Like some people are like, okay, in the modality I know, it's this, or it's interesting. When I think of this, it's this. So I do think, if you're willing to learn and see things a slightly different perspective, you will, understand that this comes from the traditional Chinese Taoist perspective, and everything kind of originates from the I Ching and even before that, shamanistic traditions from China and other Eastern countries. So it's important for us to honor those things and have those be communicated. And sometimes we're just like, yeah, I know you think that blue is water, but blue isn't water. In Feng Shui, blue is wood. Now, very, very, very dark blue, like midnight blue, yes, that's water, because in the traditional Chinese system, black is water. And what you also that will come through when you read, because there's a reason. These aren't just colors. These aren't just, oh, hey, it's water. This is energy. These energies have characteristics. And so when you explain the energies and the characteristics of each of these 5 elements, then it makes a lot of sense, because, water is black. Yes. Water is wisdom. Water is depth. Water is seeking. Water is intuitive. Water is the abyss. You go down, down deep. now you're like, oh, okay, now I get why it's black.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like you were saying, like wood is expansive, wood is creativity, wood is growth, wood is reaching for the sun, like a a sprout. Ah, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Blue and green gives me that. So, they're in feng shui, the colors are one way to bring these particular energies into your space. And what we hope to have communicated and what we try to communicate to our students is we don't want you to get in a box about that. We really want you to continue to think about what is the essence of the energy you want to bring out. Why are you doing this? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to cultivate in your home or in your person? And then sort of think about, oh, the essence of that is wisdom. Ah, I really do want to seek. Okay, well then let's unpack that a little bit. So I think it's important that, it might be counterintuitive for some people, but there's a reason.
Yeah. I like it the way listening to you describe it. It sounds almost like giving life to the different colors in a way, because it really does flip on your head. Because I remember even when I was looking in the book, the example with the cup of coffee, it was the little white coffee cup, but the black coffee inside. And thinking of that, exactly like you say, Laura, the black coffee being the yin or the feminine, and then the white being the active, the more masculine, this container that's holding the coffee. And I had to think of, okay, well, I wouldn't necessarily think of white as masculine or even active for that matter until there's an idea that comes in, a concept that comes in and says, how could you see white in that way, so to speak, right? And then all of a sudden I'm thinking of like clouds and the spaciousness and the vastness of that, but the same as the vastness of the black and the abyss, as you say, like with the depth of the yin. And so I really like looking at energy from the lens of what you all share in the book, because it does it takes me even out of my own boxes that I didn't even realize I had, and it sort of spins everything on its head.
Mhm. And I think that makes sometimes, students want to continue to learn and want to, they've already done so much of this and they're like, oh, I want to study, try studying a different modality that's
Yeah.
aligned. And you'll learn, it will give you it'll actually deepen your connection with your other practice. So,
Hmm.
find an adjacent, similar, energy practice. And it's like, wow, I've just enriched my, like acupuncture or, Reiki or yoga. Now, feng shui, because there's this dovetail or there's this way it fits. Now, we don't want to make everything fit like a jigsaw, but it layers on and it gives you, I don't know, for me, like for instance, the tarot, I study that. And for me, it makes both practices when I do them richer.
Hmm. Yeah. No, that's why I love to study so many things. And just for people who do love divination using oracle or tarot, you all have a 9 card bagua spread in the book. And I was like, oh my God. this Yeah, so you have again all of these beautiful ways of showing us to look at energy in of itself, but having this deeper look at our relationship to it from the inner, the outer, and how that is all unified. What were you going to say,
Yeah.
Angie?
Oh, I was going to say something too, because I love this conversation because I think that, feng shui is one of the many modalities in the world. And when we can, um, like Laura and you are suggesting, like explore and open ourselves up to learning different modalities and having that curiosity to look at things in a different way, where it's okay that things don't fit like a jigsaw puzzle.
Hmm.
I think it's really important to acknowledge that because it begins to allow us to understand that life is a paradox and that two things can be true at the same time, right? And that we don't have to uh, kind of pigeonhole ourselves into black and white thinking,
Right.
which I think causes a lot of strife. And I think it's, definitely an issue that's happening in the world. And so, how can we see that both sides have a story, both things can be true, both things can be correct, and and take a non-dogmatic approach. And that's really how we like to teach Feng Shui. So maybe, yeah, so maybe in the Feng Shui that we practice, like water is black, it's not blue, but that or wood is green and not and brown, because we consider brown earth element. And so brown, like brown wood floors or brown wood table, we would consider it is made of wood, but it has a predominance of earth element, because what you really see is the heaviness and the brown color. And that calls to us more earth element, which is like the ground that you walk on and the stability and soil.
Yeah.
And so, and even in that, it's challenging us. Feng Shui is challenging us to think about, wait, how can a wood desk be wood and earth and stable and made of wood at the same time? So it really challenges us to keep thinking like, and to have curiosity and not just say, oh, this X plus Y has to equal Z. No, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. And how can we be flexible?
Yeah. You know what? At this also, I have a question because I'm so curious of, and I'm coming from the lens of someone again who would say, oh, I would love to feng shui my space. And again, before having this idea that it really just has to do with decor, but you two have completely changed that. When people are considering the energy of their space, a lot of times we think of our style. You know, people even say, like, what's your style? Is it modern? Is it classic? Is it whatever is your style? Do you all tend to, if you were doing a consultation, is it more prominent of what kind of feel people want in the environment? Does style also play a part? Like, is it a marriage of the two? What do you tend to try to get people to really like dial in on? And then does everything else kind of fall around that?
Yeah, we don't care stylistically
Hmm.
because everyone's going to have a different style. And I think we get this question a lot. We get, can you have a feng shui in a modern home? Can you have a feng shui in a home that's, antique? Can you have industrial farmhouse? Can it ever be feng shui? Yes. Yes to all of those things, because these feng shui, it's not interior design and its principles. And so you can, I mean, a black in an industrial farmhouse, it could also, you can do black in industrial farmhouse. It will still have the same qualities as a black something in a, I don't know, in a French country.
Mm,
So
right.
it still holds the same energy. So this is why feng shui is perfect for interior designers if they want to bring it into their current practice. But it's it frees you from concerning that your house has to look a certain way, right?
Right.
Because you're working on a different level entirely. You're working on an energetic level, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that now that you say that, Laura, I think that's what I had in my head. I think in my mind, if you said like, "Oh, this space has great feng shui," I'm thinking I have a very particular kind of look in my mind,
Hmm.
Yeah,
and
people
it
think
doesn't.
it needs to be Asian and have a lot of red. But it
I,
doesn't. So it doesn't like, and also, when if we go back to your example of looking at the five elements, so it could be shape, color, or material, or so for instance, if we go back to water elements, so Laura said you could use the color black, but you can also use wavy or undulating patterns, or you could use an image of water, or you could bring in something that has water, or you could also do something that bring in another element that represents water, like a mirror could represent water. So there's many different tools in the toolbox, or maybe there's something entirely different that addresses the situation. So that's the fun part. Like
yeah,
once you get to really know feng shui, you can kind of go through your toolbox, see what works for the client and what achieves the intention that everyone wants to create.
that's beautiful. Okay, so now I just have one more question. This is kind of going to segue into the whole bedroom thing, but I know when we spoke before, you explained how I want to say like living rooms and these kind of things, those are more communal kind of spaces. Whereas like a bedroom, for example, can be much more personal to us. Would you suggest a different type of feng shui for someone that was perhaps, say, a criminal attorney versus like a kindergarten teacher, would you automatically, in your mind, if you knew that those were the professions, would you start thinking there are particular elements that may support them more in this kind of space, or does it have nothing to do with
For their
things like
bedroom
that?
or for their office?
Oh, I meant
Because
for the
for their
bedroom. I didn't
bedroom,
even
I
think of the
mean, their
office.
bedroom, we would look more energetically beyond, in their elemental energy, not so much, they might have some personalities that maybe goes along with whatever they do as a profession, but we probably wouldn't. I mean, it's hard to say because, it depends.
Hmm.
But it goes a little bit like, because, we don't want to have preconceived notions about what a teacher might need versus, an attorney. But in their workspaces, yes, I think you would see some differences in that because, for instance, a lawyer may need, depending on the kind of law, he might need something that's, he's communicating a lot, or he needs protection, or he needs this, or he needs that. Yes. And for a school teacher, they need to be open, they need to be nurturing, they need to be, able to connect, so those quality that I think you'd see it more in their office workspaces than you would necessarily in their bedroom. I don't know. Angie, what do you think?
Well, that's a great question because I actually just was teaching this to some of our advanced studies class. Like there, we were discussing a home owned by a banker. So there may be different things that a profession or something, important, like some kind of position in life, like whether someone's a mother, right? So there's different things that they require and that they end up doing. So, for instance, someone who owns a large company oversees a lot of people, manages a lot of people. So maybe in their home, you would look to see that you really want to make sure they're in command of their home too, because in command position of their home, that their bed is set up properly and they're not in a place where they are easily surprised because they're also in charge of a lot of people. They're supervising a lot of people. And then like the other example, like a mother, like maybe, you want to look at in a mother for a mother in a home, maybe you want to make sure you look at like she has a space of her own. Because I often find a lot of mothers don't have their own space that everyone else in the family does. So they're the ones that have to go to the car to take a Zoom call
Mm,
or whatever. That's the only space, their car, that they have of their own. So maybe we want to take a look at that. And so and sometimes it might be the same thing. Maybe it's also that they should be in command um uh like of their bedroom as well, but maybe also there needs to be a place in their home where someone else is in more command so they don't have to be the one in charge of the home all the time, right? So maybe like there's certain parts of the home where another person is more in command than them so they can feel some ease and feel supported by others.
yeah. I want to ask you if you all can explain command to people, only because you've said it a few times. But before, I just want to also point out, because you all mentioned this in the book as well. For example, I was like, oh, I probably need to get more black crystals, like black tourmaline. I have like a very small piece of shungite in my office, but you all have so many elements, even like that, of how crystals can help balance the environment, different types of plants, varieties of, again, different symbols and shapes. Just to give people an idea, it's it's very juicy and informative, but it's also so simple. The way you lay it out is just very easy to understand. But again, it's mind blowing to me anyway to have that much consideration of just a space. Now I'm looking around my office like this. I just need to start all over. Like this is crazy.
Well, I would say that you don't need to start all over because I think that's also a way that we stop ourselves.
Hmm.
Because you said that actually twice today too.
Yes.
So you can start where you are, and actually, because you gave me a walkthrough with your home and and also sent pictures. So your bed and your office are, you have your desk in command and your bed in command. So those are good things. And that's one of the first things that we look out for and we talk about in the book. And that's what everyone, all your listeners can check first in terms of their feng shui. So for your bed and for your desk, see if you're in command. And what that means is that when you're sitting at your desk or you're laying in bed, leaning against your headboard, that you can see the front door, or sorry, the door of that room without directly being in line with it. Because when you're right in line with it, meaning that if your feet are pointing out the door, that means that's called the so-called coffin position, but that's the non-ideal position because the energy is coming right at you and you're not protected. But you want to kind of be kitty corner diagonal from the door and you want to have a solid wall behind you. So like right now, we're talking to you at your desk. You have a solid wall behind you. You have the support. You also, I think, have a credenza behind your desk.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. And you have a lot of room. And then in your bedroom, you have a solid, sturdy headboard that really like supports you and your partner. And you can see the door easily. So that it means that you can be at ease. You're not in a elevated fight or flight response because your old mind, like on a physiological level, your old mind knows that you can see what's coming to you. You could see the door, that you're protected and you're safe. And you're also in an energetic level and a metaphorical level that you are looking towards what's coming to you, that you could see all the opportunities coming your way, as opposed to not being in command, where your back is facing the door, then you don't know what's coming to you. You're looking away, you don't want to see, and you can be easily surprised. And think about like being in a cubicle. You
Mm-hmm.
remember back when people were in cubicles and like anyone could creep up on you from behind
Yeah.
and surprise you and then watch everything you're doing on your computer. It's really not like a fun place to be, right?
Right. It's funny as you're saying this, I'm like thinking of my mom's room, like people in my life, I'm thinking of their rooms and that command position. So that's one of the very first easy steps. And also, again, in the book, you have images and diagrams that help us to understand what this all looks like. So would you say that's kind of like the foundation? And are those the only two rooms where that really matters?
I think it's there's lots of foundational concepts, but it is one that is very easy to look at. So we
Mm-hmm.
would say that's a great place to start. And the other one is your stove. But stoves are a little bit harder to move, obviously. And so instead you adjust it using a mirror so that you can see behind you. So that when you're cooking, you feel at ease, you feel comfortable, you feel relaxed. Same concepts. That command position is about creating ease and is about creating a sense of being able to control your environment. And you can think of each of those three areas as a different part of your life. So your bedroom is going to be your personal life. So your bed in command, personal life, your health, your well-being, those are all, because that's where you kind of recoup and everything. And you want to, that's sort of also another layer to being in command. So, you're being in command and you're having ease around that part of your life. Then your desk would be your work life. So that means you have now command and you have control and you're able to tackle projects more easily. Or maybe you're having difficulty with coworkers, like all of that kind of stuff. It gives you a better sense and a better way to deal with that and provide ease. And then the stove has to do with wealth, your
Mm.
money, because it actually represents wealth in your and your resources in your home. And so that is where, you spend a lot of money nourishing your family to buy these groceries, to make food. And so you want to make sure that that is when you're using all of those resources that you feel at ease and you feel comfortable when you're preparing meals, etc. So that is, I think, one of the foundational ones. And I think there's going to be a couple others that Angie and I are going to go through for your bedroom and for your office. And what we thought we could do, if you're cool with it, is Angie will do your bedroom and
Okay.
I will talk about your office.
Okay.
And we'll go over some things that we saw, maybe one thing that needs to be adjusted that we saw, and then we can talk about activation for each of them. So if you're cool, and then I think from those, Angie, I think you would agree that the people can still like get a sense of that. Even listeners can say, oh, I can probably do that, or that's similar to what I have. So I don't know, Angie, do you want to start with the bedroom or do you want me to start with the office? What do you want to do?
I can start with the bedroom.
Are you cool with that, Yolanda? We
Yes,
get started?
yes,
Yeah, okay,
yes.
cool.
Okay. So I'm looking at the photos of your bedroom. And so we've already talked about your bed in command. That's great. And so for the listeners, that's important. And then you also have a solid, sturdy headboard, so that's great too. Do you have a you have a queen or a king bed?
King.
King. Okay. Is there a box spring or is it just a mattress?
There's a box spring and a mattress. Well, obviously mattress. Yes, there's a
Okay.
box spring.
Yeah, and is the box spring in two pieces?
I don't know.
Okay. So
Yeah.
check that out. Usually
Okay.
a king bed has two box springs that come together and then the mattress sits on top. There's
Hmm.
a lot of folks now that just have only a mattress and no box spring. So one thing to consider is that when you're in a partnership, or if you want to be in a partnership, but even if you're single, this applies too. Your bed can represent your body, and so does your home actually in Feng Shui. And when you have that split box spring, what it does is it creates a split. When you have a partner, it represents a split between the partners, and it's becoming even more problematic nowadays because people have those beds that one side lifts
Oh,
up
the
and down and
adjustable.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's one thing that I would recommend is that if you have those two box springs, you want to heal that split and just to bring you and your partner together and not have that division in your bedroom. And the simple way to do that is to get a red cloth and just put that between the box spring and the mattress over that over the split with the intention that you're going to heal the split. And then there's two other quick things I noticed in your bedroom. One is that you have, oh, actually, three things. Do you have things under your bed?
Yes. And
Okay.
you've yelled, not yelled, but you've told me before that that shouldn't be so.
Okay. Well, so it's okay if you have to have storage under your bed.
Mhm.
It would be better if you kept it to sleep related items like pillows and towels and or soft things and maybe avoid anything that's emotionally charged. Like if anyone has like divorce papers or luggage, those or very active items, especially if you have trouble sleeping or if you have a lot of anxiety, or insomnia, it's better to keep like really soft items because the energy that you sleep above, the chi that you sleep above really affects you. And then I also noticed that you have a, a bench at the foot of your bed. And one of the things you told us you wanted to work on is more wealth. And I'm assuming that's through your career. And so we can also lay the bagua on your bed. And I remember when we talked about my book, Mindful Homes, you were like, I love this bagua on the bed.
Yes.
So you can lay the bagua on the bed, and what that shows us is that career is at the foot of your bed. And so for people who want to kind of move forward with their career, sometimes having a big bench at the foot of their bed can stop them from moving forward in their career. And because in addition, you also have a lot of shoes there too. So if you could, maybe you can, I don't know if there's a different place for that bench to go.
Hmm.
Or you could just try it out. Because also some people are also really good in their career and they don't really need to move forward anymore. So for some people who don't really need to make big strides right now in their career, that's okay. But if you want to make kind of big strides in your career and in your work life, then I would move that out, and so you can invite more chi into that part of your life.
I love it. And
Okay,
it's
and then
funny again. I mean, as you're saying it again, I keep going back to what it feels like because of what you all say in the book. And I
mhm.
could see how that could feel like a wooden bench at the end of the bed could feel like, an obstruction to flow
Yes.
at the feet. So I'm like, okay, this makes all the sense. Hmm.
Yes. And then the last thing I noticed is that oh, right, so there's a doorway without a door towards a bathroom. Okay. So that can cause that's a little bit problematic in feng shui because it's bringing like kind of the chi of the bathroom. And over time, that can create maybe some health issues. So the way to correct it is to hang, and I'll send you one, okay? Because I saw them. You can hang a feng shui crystal ball from the ceiling from a red string somewhere between the bed and that doorway, centered on the doorway and we talk about this in the book too, but that'll take that chi, the energy that's coming from the bathroom towards the bed, and really and disperse it because the feng shui crystal ball is like a prism. So basically, like what a prism does to sunlight is it takes it and disperses it, makes it into a rainbow, right? So it takes
Yeah.
that any kind of challenging energy from the bathroom and it disperses it. So I'll send that to you.
Thank you. That's very cool. I just want to point out with what you all are sharing, it's interesting because these don't sound like difficult shifts to make, but they seem like they would shift a lot energetically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes, we're picking things that we feel are going to provide impact and shift and change, but they're also accessible and they're doable.
Right.
So I'm going to talk a bit about your office now. Based on the fact that you wanted to, work on expanding and wealth, etc., the office is a really good place to start. Obviously, it's connected with career and productivity. And for you, Angie's already talked that you're in command, which is great. Like that's number one, the most important thing. And when you're sitting at your desk, are you directly in front of the door or is it off to the side?
It's off to the side, off to my right.
Perfect. So that's great because if it were directly in line with that door in, it would be a similar adjustment to what with the bathroom. And it's because you've got the line of chi coming at you, but where you are, it's just slightly offset, gives you that same sense of control, but without that sort of all that kind of stuff coming at you so that you can be a little bit more relaxed. So that's good. And then one thing, we'll talk about maybe activating your office and your desk. So you can activate your office in two different ways. One, we can look at the space of the office itself, the whole, square of the office or rectangle of the office, and you can choose to activate one particular area of that. So let's say you're standing in the door of your office looking in. Okay, you're underneath the door jamb, standing there and looking in. Look to the far left-hand corner
Okay.
of your office. What is in there?
A
Tell me.
bookshelf.
A bookshelf. Okay. So what you could possibly do is do an audit of that bookshelf, see if it's well organized and filled with books that are moving you forward, with your business and etc. Great. If it's become sort of a thing that's storage maybe, or if you have old tax, documents or receipts or things that are heavy, financially, energetically and heavy, you may want to do an audit and review that and purge. Okay.
Okay.
And then you can add one thing, and you don't have to do many. One thing people sometimes think is more in feng shui, right? Where it's not the case. If you do one adjustment with conviction, intention, and focus, that is enough. So I'm going to give you 3 different options and you can get creative. So you can kind of take them as the essence of it. So you can go with color or with the element.
Okay.
Okay. So the color for that area is purple, which is, not exactly, sometimes it's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people love purple. It's divisive. So, but you can add purple in any way you see that makes sense for you. You were talking about crystals, how much you love crystals. So amethyst is a great way. You could add amethyst in there, a piece of amethyst. You could add a plant. And you can add in a jade plant or a money plant or a plant that has round leaves, like coin-shaped leaves. And then if you wanted, you could put that plant in a purple pot too. You don't have to. You could just have the plant itself too.
Okay.
And that can be your adjustment. And when you're putting that there, you're going to set the intention. I mean, you can sort of visualize it fully yourself, but of what it means for you to find abundance and prosperity and growth. And, in our book, we go through each of the areas of the Bagua, and it's, for that particular gua, we have little almost aphorisms, so there's affirmations that you can kind of, sort of think about the areas, and, that you can slowly, but deliberately build your own wealth or your own prosperity, right? Instead of just thinking, oh, I'm going to glue a lottery ticket on there. And like, it's kind of looking at it in a little bit in a deeper way, right? So
Yeah.
that's wealth, and doing it in your office is great because it would be connected with your work, right? That you're doing. And then one other thing I think I noticed when I was looking at the floor plans is your office, and maybe you guys talked about this, is your office over the garage?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a visualization for protection. Okay. We're going to visualize together. You're going to just, in your mind's eye, I want you to visualize this. I'm going to walk you through the mechanics of what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to say it. And then as I do it, the three of us are going to visualize it happening.
Okay.
But what you want to do is you want to protect your office chair. Okay. We're going to focus on where you're sitting, because right now you're over quite a bit of yin open space. You don't have the support you need. You don't have, we want you to feel protected. We want you to, even if your garage is lovely and beautiful, it's still, cars coming in and out, or it's a big open space. We want you to feel that rooted, that connection. So we're going to visualize right now that what I'm doing is on however your chair is. Describe me your chair, actually. What does your office chair look like?
It has
It-
well, you can't, there's a blanket over right now.
What kind of feet does it have?
Like a office chair with it has
The
they
things,
roll,
like,
yeah,
roll.
like
Okay,
the claw
perfect.
and rolls. Mhm.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to visualize that underneath each of the rollers, okay, is a red carpet.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to see this red carpet. Visualize that right now, you're going to see this. There's a red carpet under it, glowing red, and red represents protection. And in this, we're almost going to visualize as well that it has the qualities of cinnabar, vermilion, that bright kind of orangey red. And that's underneath the rollers. And then we're going to visualize that red stays, and it makes contact with each of your little feet that are on the ground to protect you from what's underneath. And then it's going to slowly move up the base, and it's going to create a small little, red circle just underneath where you sit. And on that is going to be a calligraphy, actually, a visualization of the word in Chinese for stability, which is ding. And so visualize that you now have this stability and this strength and this protection underneath you. And the garage is no longer an issue. Okay?
I like this. Yes.
So, and I think, one last thing, because this is super easy for people that are listening to, and for you if you want to. The other way you could activate your office is you could find the far left corner of your desktop, and you could put the same kind of adjustment. So you could put like a plant or purple amethyst or something there, because that's the wealth corner of your desktop as well. So that's kind of a cute little microcosm way of doing the same thing you've done in a bigger way.
I love this one because I have things to do, but also, again, it's really not complicated. So I love that you all shared what you shared. Thank you so much, by the way, for looking at my space. But like Angie mentioned in the beginning, I was like, oh God, I've got to clear everything out and start from scratch. And you guys are like, no, no,
No, I
ma'am.
knew it. I was like, we were talking. I was like, should we give Yolanda this thing? I'm like, why don't we do the visualization with her? Like, we don't typically we might tell someone just to do what we did for you, but
Yeah.
instead we sat together because I know also you're a really powerful healer. So together, the three of us visualizing that is just as strong as you doing it.
Yeah.
And it's more helpful for you because you don't have to do anything in the physical world, but we did it energetically for you.
Yeah, and that's a really very cool thing. And so I just want to before because I know I don't have you for only like a couple more minutes. And there's a couple of things I want to know. One, if you all are going to have your feng shui school again, if it's opening up soon, enrollment. But there was a line in your book that stood out to me too. You all were talking about, because you do talk a lot about divination. And like Laura mentioned, it says the subtitle of the book is A Guide to the Everyday Magic of Feng Shui. And you all really do bring in all of these magical components, so to speak, in getting us to look and feel and understand everything differently. That's all I'm going to say about that. But you do say divination is an acknowledgement of the divine wisdom that's within you. Just to clarify for people what that really means and where you all are coming from. And again, I mean, there are some really cool things in here. I wish I had you guys all day. Like you talk about the 24 solar terms. I was like, what is this? But that was a really cool thing considering our space and the energies of the seasons,
Mhm.
how nature really does reflect and mirror back so much for us to understand about our personal environments. But then, and Laura mentioned earlier, I thought it was cool when I got to the end of the book, seeing that you all started and you ended with the labyrinth. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many beautiful elements. I just want to show people again because this book is gorgeous, but I just want to give a visual of how nice the pages are. Oops.
Yeah,
Just the layout.
we're really happy the way it turned out. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very colorful in
it
some
is
ways.
very colorful, but it's
Mm.
very easy to follow. Again,
Mhm.
for someone who has no background in design, feng
Mhm.
shui, or anything else in that arena. So I just wanted to ask before we wrap up, is there anything in particular you all were hoping, aside from the simplicity, that people would get from this book?
Well,
Go ahead.
no, I mean, I think that we love this book. And I think the quote that you mentioned about the divination, that actually kind of sums up a lot of the book because we want people to know that wisdom is within yourself.
Yeah.
So you don't need to put anyone on a pedestal. This is all something that each of us has within us. You don't need to have psychic superpowers and and think that somebody has something that you don't have, that this is all something that we can cultivate. And there's so much wisdom and so much nourishment when you can look at your environment, whatever that is. It can be a dirt hut or it could be a palace, but it could still be your sacred space. So that's really important. And and I think that was the key of it. And then to your other question, yes, we are teaching our certification program. It's open for enrollment right now, and we start class in early February. So we teach that once a year.
It starts in early February. And for people, because I know you must have people in all different time zones, if people want to join, or the class is recorded and they can keep up at their own pace.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, everything is recorded. Everything is we're Virgo and Virgo adjacent here. So we are super organized. Everything is recorded. We have a beautiful little school curriculum set up for everyone. So yeah, it's really easy to follow. And the bulk, I mean, all of it is taught live and you get to be with us an awful lot. So, if most people like to choose to be a part of it in a live online scenario, but yeah, it's all available, easy and accessible.
Beautiful. And what are the best ways to connect with you? The website and online, where the, I mean, online, social media, what are the best?
So at Mindful
So
Design School is Instagram
Mhm.
and the website, Angie.
is mindfuldesignschool.com. And we also have a podcast, the Holistic Spaces podcast.
And I'll make sure to put a link to all of that down in the show description. And for everyone, if you can't see this in video, the book is called Mindful Living, A Guide to the Everyday Magic of Feng Shui. It is really a gorgeous book. And I can't thank you all enough for coming and sharing all of this with us, because I think a lot of people's minds are probably going, "Ooh, I didn't realize." And hopefully you really will come back so we can talk about the year of the snake too.
Yeah, send us the link
Absolutely.
and we'll set it up today if you want. And
Okay.
because you and I were excited for the snake year. The
Yes.
dragon's in the house. Sorry, we need the snake.
No, that's what I was saying.
Laura's cruising right now though
Yeah, I'm
because she's a
cruising.
rat.
I'm still cruising. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm keeping all of my, and we'll talk about this when you come, but this was my charm from last year, my little
Mhm.
dog.
Yeah.
And now I have the rooster on my purse, but yeah, we'll save that for the next episode of what
Yeah.
that.
Well, when I send you the crystal ball, I'll send you also the next charm, which is the monkey, which we'll talk about more. You
Yeah.
guys all have to stay tuned for the next time we're on.
Thank you so much, ladies. And don't forget to follow Anjie and Laura at Mindful Design School on Instagram. We'll have the website down below. You can actually take their certification class, and the book will show you just how beautiful their lineage of feng shui really is. So we will see you all very soon. Bye for now. Okay, beautiful alchemist. First of all, of course, I want to thank Anjie and Laura again, not just for the incredible book that they wrote that is very easy to follow, easy to understand. If you are interested in energy work at all, I think that this is a really great book for you just to look at energy work from another lens, like really having an understanding of our environments overall. And this bleeds into, our workspaces and the spaces that we hold for when we do our sessions, as well as our homes and so on. So the book is called Mindful Living, A Guide to the Everyday Magic of Feng Shui. It is written by Angie Cho and Laura Morris. If you want to know more about their Feng Shui school, be sure to visit their website, mindfuldesignschool.com. The link for that is down in the show description. And thank you both for my little consultation that you provided for me. Those changes will be implemented right away. That aside, again, just as a reminder, the Alchemy Circle registration is closing in just a few days. I look forward to those of you who are joining and going to spend a year of energetic alchemy with me. Also, if you are not already subscribed to my newsletter, be sure to subscribe. Just go to my website, theenergeticalchemist.com. Sign up for the newsletter, because then you get free access right away to Creating with the Moon and Stars, as well as 22 Days of Transformation. And both of these can support you a lot with the new year energy. But you also will receive the invitation to my free numerology class, which I teach every January. This year it will be held on January 1st. So if you want to join me for Numerology 101, be sure to sign up for the newsletter to get your free access. All right, my loves. I hope that you all again have a beautiful holiday week. Check out the website just to see what upcoming classes and events are happening in 2025. There are plenty of new classes that start in January alone, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you all. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. I will see you soon, and remember to always journey in love.